My only mission in life is get away from the Adamites and the black devil helmets, messing with the white light. Other religion, the wicked, don't need tarot cards. I'm looking around in the dark. I stay on my lahaj, learning, speaking, and reading, and one day I'll teach it to those that want it and those that need it. The master teacher will be happy to see him, and he knows that we love him because we fight hard for his freedom. With love and unity, our shield is the key to the sanctuary of Yaa-nanan. Shamus Kawun Man. What does this mean? That means he has his own land, away from gossip and slander, evil, tripping and power. What you need to be worried about the meteorite showers and them fireballs knocking down them walls. It's over, y'all. We want Babylon fall. In other words, get out the way. And when Baba comes home, we'll build a bigger Tamarack. I visualize the master with diplomatic stats, flying back to Africa on a private jet, rocking a Rolex, holding doctrine classes, filled with laughter, teaching online, reaching the masses. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new chapter. We escape the gun clappers and the natural disasters, and those that's mad enough, slamming black devil bastards that thought they had us. I've been dreaming, scheming on leaving the land of demons. Residual is needed. The master teacher gave us tools when he dropped those shoes. The reformer and the warner of this day in time. Just look around and pay attention. You'll see the signs. So what you gonna do when there's a food shortage and no source of income to be supported? Tamarack was our safe zone. When the master come home, we'll have a new home.
Roll back, Musa. Roll back. Okay. All right, we're back. We are back. Another class. Wu-Sabat. Another class. But we're here. Kabul Muisar. That means welcome to our family out there. Kabul Muisar. That means welcome to our Sabian family. Welcome to our YouTube family. Welcome to all those who join us. Those who join us live versus those who are going to watch the recording of this discussion today. Welcome, Kabul, Kabul, Kabul Muisar. And for those, just so you guys know, we have these discussions every Tuesday, right, from 7 to 9, where we discuss the culture of Wu-Sabat. So we welcome everyone to join us. If you've been watching our lectures, join us in the live, join the discussions, and spend time with us. It's about relationships. We can't stress that enough. It is about relationships. And if we're not talking to each other, how could we ever build relationships? That's what these discussions are about. It's about helping people understand the culture of Wu-Sabat. It's about introducing people to the culture of Wu-Sabat. And it is very imperative that we talk, that we build with each other, that we spend time with one another. This is how we learn about the culture and how we make it work for us. And so this is what we do. Again, it is imperative. It's about relationships. I can't stress that enough. So, for those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Tebtu Re'e, and I've been over 30 years student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher known to us as Nabab Yaa-nanan. You see him right here on the screen, also known as Dr. Melakazi K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture we identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-Nawat. And it stands for those who make decisions based on sound, right reasonability, right? Our culture, it is about those who make decisions based on sound, right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of the Hutri. In essence, our culture was about us as an African people being in harmony with natural nature. Our culture was about us being in harmony with natural nature. This is how we lived prior to 6,000 years ago. We are an ancient people that goes back hundreds to millions and millions of years old is who we are. And we've lived this culture for that length of time. And unfortunately, within the last 6,000 years, we have gradually gotten away from the culture up until 500 years ago, when we have been plagued with racism, white supremacy that has took over the planet. And we have adopted these foreign cultures, and we have been suffering every day. This is what we argue. The only solution to the problems of Black people, the conditions that they're living, is due to the culture that they're living, and to get away from the old foreign cultures and to get back to the culture of our ancestors of Wu-Sabat. This is what we argue. This is what we teach. And the master teacher who has educated us about our culture as the reformer for this day and time, he has spent over 50 some odd years trying to teach us and re-educate us about this culture of Wu-Sabat. And I'm just one of many students. That have been out here trying to explain this culture, trying to explain why it's imperative for our people to embrace it, because this is how we change our conditions. This is literally the solution to us changing our conditions, by changing our decisions that we make from day to day. And that all obviously will change your cultural ideal. And because the way we're living today, whether we're in Africa, whether we're in the Caribbean, whether we're in South America or North America or Europe, Black people are suffering, as you can see, right? What's going on in the Ukraine, right? The war in Ukraine, and white people still find time, even in their war zones, to be racist towards Black people. For those who don't know about it, look at it. There's a lot of thousands of Black people who's living in that country, and they were racist towards them trying to get out of the country, because they wanted white people to go first, and they was holding back the Black people so that white people can go first. This is the power of racism, white supremacy. And as long as Black people, and understand why they were even in this country, they were there for an education. Black people, we must educate ourselves. The foreigners cannot educate us. And this is what Wu-Sabat is all about. Wu-Sabat is trying to educate us about it is better for us to learn our culture that will empower us, that will give us the power to rule ourselves and to restore our wealth as a people. We have the ability to do it. We just lost the knowledge. We lost the self-esteem. And this is what Wu-Sabat is dedicated to doing. And so, like I said, I'm one of many students that is dedicated my time to doing this, to try my best to educate people. And so these live classes is so people can join us, right? Ask us questions, talk to us, and hopefully we will build a strong relationship. That's the key. So with all that being said, before we get started, let's see. We like to do our prayers every week. We always get in our prayers because our culture, Wu-Sabat, is about our spiritual development, right? Our spiritual development. We did a class on this, why we pray, why we do rituals, why we do meditation. This is all about spiritual development. So I highly recommend definitely checking that lecture out that we did on our channel that explains why we do the prayer system. It is for our spiritual development. Now, the prayer is I'll read it in English, and then I'll move into I'll read it in our language called Sabaic, and then I'll translate it in English. You guys can see it on the screen. You can follow through with me, and I highly recommend you do just that. Let's get started. Bade kalal namasat wufad ko aman kasamun shalal pu'ut. Panan safa kawun pa sawat wu pa tarak. Z kawuna nazula laha ankum mana sabat wu sa'at. Ama hadayan shafe'un mana salafu wu nataru. Ajula ya nafasu kum afuk shana kawun kuma pa sawat wu pa tarak. This book, The Truth and the Way, it was sent down for you all from Sabat Wu-Sabat, star constellation, as a guidance and a healing from your ancestors and overseers. Return to your own. Accept what is yours, the truth and the way. Anun tawa ankum laha panan shafe un wu alaj. Anun tawa ankum laha nasuinun. Anun tawa ankum laha ashuk. Ankum ata khada'ukum. Anun talub nasar kuma. Anun talub nasar kuma. And so nun sayim nataru. And so nun salafunun. Anun ata muspa'u. We thank you all for this healing and cure. We thank you all for not forgetting us. We thank you all for Ashuk. You are our ancestors. We are your children. We seek your help. We seek your help. Help us, divine overseers. Help us, our ancestors. We are Muspa'u. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amun. Gender 4. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Roll back to all. Now, every week we go over our core principles of Wu-Sabat. It is imperative that everyone understand the core principles of Wu-Sabat / Wu-Nawab, because our goal is to live by these principles. Our goal is to embody these principles and make it a part of our day-to-day life, our everyday life. And this is why I make it my business every week to go over these core principles, and to keep in mind that all of our lectures are based around these core principles, so that the goal is to help people understand these principles in detail, so that we can begin to apply these things into our day-to-day actions. Again, Wu-Sabat is our culture. And if you don't know it in detail, then how can you live it? How can you apply it into our lives? And so that's why we do these lectures. This is why we do these discussions, to help you in your decision-making abilities. So this is key. So if you're new, this will help you comprehend what we're about. And if you're someone who's not new, it is as a remembrance, as a reminder, which we all need. Perpetual, constant reminders, So with all that being said, principle number 1 is Ashak. And Ashak stands for divine love, or what we say, the power of love. The creation energy itself is about Ashak. And we did a discussion on that, and I highly recommend it. Definitely check that out. Principle number 2 is about resurrection. Resurrection is about becoming goddesses and gods once again by learning to open up our third eye. Our ancestors prior to 6,000 years ago, all of their third eyes were open, so they were in tune with the universe. They was in tune with nature. They was in tune with all the different dimensions. And now we're not, because our third eye is closed, and so we're not in tune with our spiritual nature. And this is one of our ultimate goals as a Sabian, is to learn to do that. We had a lecture on that, several discussions. We've talked about that many, many times, and we're going to continue to talk about it many, many times, because we must understand this is a must. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutri and Ma'at. The Hutri stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for order. We did discussions on that, so definitely check those lectures out. Principle number 4 is relationships. Relationships, as an African people, we live of, for, and by each other. So we did a lecture on that, and I highly recommend. Relationships is key, guys. Relationships is key. Right now, they have us working and living for money to take care of ourselves. And the greatest commodity is the relationships. It's about building relationships, and then we wouldn't have to work for money. We would be working with each other, because we are the currency, And if we had a relationship with our people all over the globe, then we can break out of the economic systems that foreigners have got us in, So definitely check that lecture out we did on relationships. Principle number 5 is morphic resonance / matrix. Your morphic resonance is dealing with sound, color, vibrations, tones, frequencies. And matrix is dealing with the manifestations of these creation energies. Okay. Principle number 6 is Leviathan. Leviathan stands for moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. Leviathan is what we're at war with. The master teachers wrote like 6-7 books just on the subject matter. Guys, you must understand the principles of Leviathan inside and out. It is what we're at war with. Principle number 7 is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional force, and your spirit is your life force. We did lectures on that, so definitely check that out. Principle number 8 is health, right? The first key to health is a positive mind. As melanated children, we need a lot of sunlight. Water, our body is 70% water. We recommend fasting at least once or twice a week. We recommend a herbal diet, as Dr. Sabi has taught us, exercising, rhythmic breathing, meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting, as we say every week. Health is not just what you do physically. Health is also necessary spiritually. You must do things equally, physically and equally spiritually, to be in perpetual health, in harmonic health. Our people are suffering from health issues because they don't know this. This was a part of our culture that they forgot. Principle number 9 is Pa'ut. Pa'ut is what we identify as the creative force. The creative energy is Pa'ut, right? It just stands for all. You can't add to the all, because where would you get it from? You can't take from the all, because where would you put it? All is. And within creation of all, existence is based on what we call the SMAT. SMAT stands for space, matter, and time, the cycles of nature. And the creation energy, we call it Achak. It translates to ether, people call it. And today's scientists call it now the quantum field force. Okay? The quantum field force. Now, as Sabians, we have 3 primary goals as Sabians, the students of Wu-Sabat, right? Goal number 1 is to raise the self. Goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And goal number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. Goal number 1, raise the self. You must become born again, as the Christians teach, by learning the culture of Wu-Sabat and live it. give up the old culture, the foreign cultures, Western cultures that has been plaguing us, and learn this new culture. It's hard. It's very hard for our people to give up this culture, especially depending on how old you are. But this is the key, towards raising yourself. And in raising yourself, correct your name, right? Correct your name, make it known to all. That's like a baptism all to itself, and correcting one's name, and let's see. Correct how you look and dress, right? We recommend African clothing. Identify what we are culturally. Must learn. Part of that is also learn the language of Sabaic. That's extremely important. We're going to talk about that today. You must study our doctrine every day, which builds your sound right reasoning skills. This is how you're going to correct yourself. By the key to mastering anything is repetition. The key to mastering anything is repetition. And by studying the doctrine each and every day, this is what's going to help you in your decision-making abilities. You must practice and master our daily rituals to turn yourself inside out, right? That's how you open up your third eye. And always be positive. You're not going to get anything worthwhile done unless you maintain a positive mind. So that's key. And as far as our second goal is to fight Leviathan. This includes working to free Nabab Yaa-nanan, promoting Wu-Sabat, become a student teacher, and fight the 6 strongest weapons of a Leviathan, which are ignorance, fear, ego, anger, our lust/desires, and our lies/deceptions. This is key. Our people, we're plagued by those things, unfortunately. We're dealing, and we find it very difficult to overcome these energies, and it's sad. So with that all being said, and the last goal is working to build Sabbatia. We must get our land back. We must build up our society, and our communities and our culture by getting our land. So we work to support each other in business. This will help us raise the necessary monies we need. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. And we must set up a landing zone for Panatharu in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government. Ashuk is the key to accomplish all our goals, guys. Ashuk is the key to accomplish all our goals. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabaean? Sabaean is someone who's thoughtful and cares. This is our moral code. This is imperative that everyone understands our moral code. So what it means to be a Sabaean is, yes, you're required to be someone who's thoughtful and cares, right? Someone who's helpful and honest. Someone who's responsible and hardworking. Someone who demands justice and honorable. Someone who is righteous and humble. Someone who is positive and cheerful. Someone who is loving and peaceful. Someone who is kind and considerate. And someone who is neat, clean, and orderly. Okay? That is imperative. Now, our purpose. Our purpose as Sabaeans is, living here in our day-to-day. What is your purpose from day to day? Our purpose is to liberate ourselves from adverse forces. This is what we're fighting towards each and every day. This is what we should be fighting for as Sabaean, to liberate ourselves from adverse forces. 1, you must take action each and every day to free yourself of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by those spirit forces. If you're not familiar with what we teach about spirit beings and spirit forces, watch our lectures on that subject matter, because our people are really ignorant on that subject matter. And as a student of Wu-Sabat, you really must know that subject matter inside out. It is imperative, because spirit forces have everything to do with our lives. Principle number 2, or objective number 2 in our purpose is acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting capitalism, the gay agenda, miscegenation, the so-called equality of the races, and racism, white supremacy. This is how we liberate ourselves, guys, from these adverse forces. We have to understand their cultural principles that's got us locked down, have our people locked down, especially capitalism. And then number 3 is learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature. And each one teach one. You can't be a Sabaean if you're not trying to spread this. to other people. This is not about hoarding the knowledge for yourself. It's about spreading the good news. Our people need to know this information. So each one teach one. As I talked about before, 6 degrees of separation. If anyone watched our news reports, and I haven't put out any news reports this week, but there'll be one this coming Friday. My goal is to try to do them, every week. And but we'll definitely put one out this Friday, our NoopooH News. Word of advice: do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Nabab Yaa-nanan nor his students. Judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka affirmation, that you personally put to practical use. This doctrine is based on self-authentication, guys. This doctrine is based on self-authentication. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. That's the key to that. Now, know that we are not preachers, but teachers who are dedicated to answering questions until there's a meeting of the minds between teacher and student, who then can work in unity, which is the only solution to our problems. Quote, what you do for yourself in kind depends on what you think of yourself in kind. What you think of yourself in kind depends on what you know of yourself in kind. And what you know of yourself in kind depends on what you was taught and by whom of yourself in kind. Okay? Another quote, until the lion have their historians, the hunter will always be the hero. And last, the negative mind talks about what it can't and will not do for self and kind, always complaining about who they don't like or trust, whereas the positive mind always maintains the peace by not complaining about that in which they do not like, but focus on finding solutions to their problems, never allowing obstacles to get in their way of growth. Okay. All right. So with all that being said, today's discussion is updates, letters, and updates from the master teacher. It is an imperative, since the master teacher has been kidnapped from us. And just for those who don't know, the master teacher has been kidnapped from us and put inside a federal prison system, the most maximum federal prison system this country has. They put him in with terrorists and the likes. The master teacher is innocent, guys. Anyone who studies his case can clearly see the master teacher is innocent. But they've always persecuted, unfortunately, people who try to liberate us. And the master teacher is just another individual on that long list of black leadership who's been in this nation, who've been fighting for liberation, but always been persecuted, always had to suffer, from Harriet Tubman to Frederick Douglass to Marcus Garvey to Noble Drew Ali to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Our people have been fighting for liberation since we've been here for 500 years, and we have been persecuted ever since. And so they either imprison us or kill us. And unfortunately, they imprisoned the master teacher. And so we've been fighting for his freedom. But while he has been in prison, because he's only there because of what he teaches liberation information. That's why he's there. It's that simple. So I repeat, anyone who studies the case inside and out, who understands, you don't just listen to one side of the story, because we've been getting killed in the so-called court of public opinion because people love to listen to slander and gossip rather than studying all sides of the story before you can come to a conclusion, researching the facts. And anyone who does that will find the facts obviously will let you know that the master teacher, one, is innocent, and two, has been set up. And unfortunately, they said that. Even the so-called victims have said they set him up. So, those are the facts. The so-called victims even said they lied. Those are the facts. And so, it's sad, but this is what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know that, because, in Wu-Sabat, you're supposed to be someone who questions everything, research everything. And we have been living under racism and white supremacy, and they've conditioned us not to question. This is the problem. They got us now, paying, what are we paying out there now? $4 a gallon in gas. I've talked about this before. When I moved to Georgia. I'm in Georgia, and I've been here now for 20 years. I actually came here in 2002, and the gas price was 99 cents a gallon. Now the gas is over $4, $4.50 a gallon. So that's over 400% increase. 400% increase. Whose income increases 400% in 2 decades? No one's income increased that I know increased 400% in 2 decades. That means that if you was making $20,000 20 years ago, 2 times 4, that means your income should be $80,000. Only the 5% of the population, let's say 10% of the population income may increase like that, which I highly doubt. But I can assure you 90% of the population income does not increase 400%. In fact, 90% of the population income doesn't even increase 100% over their lifetime. It's sad, but it's one of those realities, which is why we have a high poverty rate. And they've been saying the middle class in this nation has been dwindling completely. In fact, in today's generation, children are making less than their parents. So the income is actually dropping, but the price of goods and services have been increasing. Why? Why do they do that? It's done on purpose. The elite does that to squeeze the population, to make the population as dependent as they possibly can so that they can control them through their laws, rules, and regulations. The elite, the global elite, are the ones who are doing this. They don't have to raise the prices like that because they have enough money, but they do it to control the population. It's sad. We did a lecture on that, about the secret government, and I highly recommend people study that. Study the secret government, guys. But so today's discussion is we're going to get into updates and letters from the master teacher. Actually, let me rephrase that. Okay, so because here's the deal. Here's what we're doing, just so you guys can see this in detail. All right. Now here, these are the updates. So you see this on my screen. This is 350 some odd pages, 356 pages of updates and letters. So what that means is this. There are students who have been visiting the master teacher ever since he's been kidnapped, and the master teacher has been teaching all that time. So every time someone goes to visit him, he's been giving them much information, a lot of information, and they're making reports. They made notes. They made lots and lots of notes, and this is kind of like formulate almost into a book. In fact, a lot of these notes were turned into a lot of the books we have. So the new books we have, which is the actual facts and the master secrets, a lot of that information came from these letters and updates that the master teacher, in fact, basically all of our books came from these letters and updates, these visits. Okay. And so what I did, because there were some very important things in these particular updates. So I can't read 300 some odd pages in a class setting. So what I did was I went page by page, and I just pulled out quotes from the page of what I think are important information that all students need to be aware of, and you may be aware of, but also as a reminder. So this is why I pulled certain quotes. So obviously I can't read it, but what I did was I pulled a whole bunch of the quotes. And so I made notes, right? So I did little paragraphs. And so what I'm gonna do is read the page that I read, that I got the information from, and then read the quote that I made on that page, what that page was talking about, or important things that page talked about. And so that's kind of what I did, and it will serve as an update for you guys to listen to audience. Now, I was paraphrasing, so I do want to say that. In fact, I said here, the short paragraphs below are only me paraphrasing what I read in these updates that all should know. This information came from many visits or letters from Nabab Yaa-nanan since he has been kidnapped. So So it's not direct quotes I'm quoting from the letters, because the letters themselves or the update themselves are the individuals who are visiting the master teacher, and they have to write down, you know, what they've experienced, what the master teacher told them. And here's the other issue. They were not allowed to take pen and paper into these visits in the prison system. They didn't allow that. So what they had to do, as soon as the visit ended, they had to write this stuff by memory. You know, they had to write a lot of things by memory from the actual updates. And so that is imperative that we know that. Now, but this is the beauty of being a Sabian. A Sabian deals with sound right reasonability. And there's nothing that the masters really has been teaching in our new books and our actual facts and Patracts and all of our new stuff that he really hasn't taught before. You know, and if you really know our doctrine, then you'll know, okay, this is our doctrine. What he's been doing is updating old information, because I guess for the first 20 years, the master teachers was teaching us through religious doctrine, you know, through the Bible and through the Quran. And then that was in the 70s and 80s, and in the 90s, then we went into Egyptology and Sumerian teachings, right? But still a lot of religious teachings out of the Bible and the Quran. Now, when we get into the millennia after the year 2000, you know, which we call the hereafter doctrine, in essence, we're teaching the doctrine, but not from a religious point of view, but from a scientific and spiritual point of view. So it's not so much that the information is new, it's just new in how it's being explained and updated in more details that we did not know. So we got a lot of clarity about things we did not know, you know, and that's kind of how the information is going. So with all that being said, let's get started with this book. So again, we have here in page 16. So if you was to go to page 16 in those updates that I'm talking about, because like I said, we got like 300 some odd pages. So if you would go to page 16, it will let you know this is where I got this information from, just to keep everybody abreast of what we're doing here. Okay. Now, so on page 16 and it was paragraph 37. It says, we buy from each other and sell to all others. I think that's imperative because that's dealing with economics. As a Sabian, we supposed to be developing our economics, right? As Sabians, we supposed to be developing our economics. See that this here, and I wanted to make that important because one, unfortunately, we're not doing that, and we're supposed to be doing that. You know, right? We buy from each other and sell to all others. That means Sabians supposed to be doing things business-wise and economically, where this will help us grow economically if we're supporting one another. And so that's why I made it, you know, a point to, you know, make this clear. And so, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. My son, my Sawa, was trying to contact me. All right. So again, we buy from each other, we sell to all others, right? So that's a point of contention that all Sabians should be aware of, mindful of, and you know, we should, you know, we need to know that, and we all should be striving towards this objective. Okay. Now, one of the things, you know, I've been talking about when it comes to economics was that as Sabians, we need to develop a who's who, because you can't buy from each other and support one another if we don't know who's who. And as Sabians, we need to do a consensus of all Sabians around the globe. I think this is imperative, extremely important. This is how we can achieve this goal of supporting everyone economically. Next point, and this is page 17, paragraph 54, says speaking Sabaik will change our genes because of the tones. And so we've talked about this many times about the importance of our language. I understand this in our language of Wu-Sabat. In fact, I wish I would have thought of this and I would have brought it up. Our alphabet. Let's see if I can bring it up, because I want to show you guys something about our alphabet. So this is a book we put out, Pa Harafat Safa. This is a book that's dealing with our alphabet of our language, or we call it Lahaj language. Now, here's the thing with our language. We have this letter right here. And this letter, the sound of this letter is called ah. It has 3 tones, depending on how it's used, depending on the word, right? So it could be one tone. It could be like the back of your. Imagine you putting your finger in the back of your throat. The doctors do it, right? They say so right? So right? And then you have e, and then you have oh. So it's like someone putting something in your throat, and that's the sound that makes. So it could be e, oh. Now here's the key. There is no sound like that in the English alphabet. There is no sound like that in the English alphabet. Okay? And so when you have letters in a specific language, in the alphabet, that has different sounds, that means you're going to sound different when you speak that language. And you're producing tones that you normally wouldn't produce. So English is a flat language. The language doesn't produce real tone. In fact, we as Black people have brought hip hop to the language. We hip hop the language. We brought soul to the language because we're a very soulful people. But English is really a dead language. So if you was to listen to the Mukasu, the Caucasians, speak it before they had Black people speaking it, you would see how dead that language is. We brought life to it, as dead as the language is. So the key is, if you're speaking a dead language, it drops your body's vibration. When you speak a language of life, it raises your body's vibration. So that's just one of those sounds. We have another sound in our Lahaj, which is language. Hold on, my computer. Let's see here. I want to find another letter. Like you have this letter right here, cha. This letter is cha. Like in the Black Panther's name is Chatala. Chatala. That's this letter right here. That's that sound, cha. That's the sound in our language, Lahaj, that's not in English. They don't have a sound like that in English. Okay? This right here is da. So that's a normal sound, the D sound, da, or D, or do, right? But you have doos. This is like a hard D sound, doos, right? A hard D sound. So you feel it in your chest when you're trying to say that sound. And so you have duh. This is another hard, like it's D-A, duh. So that's actually the letter we use when we call on our ancestors. When we say pa nataru, it's a hard D sound. DJ nataru, nataru, right? And so my point is that in our language, we're producing you're saying tones that you don't say in an English language, and this is how you alter your genetics. You alter your this is why, guys, we put out the book Intelligent Design, Divine Design, or Plot of Aliens. Actual facts number 46, that it goes into the subject matter of epigenetics. When you research the study of epigenetics, we talked about this before, you have the ability to alter your genes. You have the ability to alter your genes, and you can alter your genes through tones. They're doing it to us. They did it to us by making us speak their language. They altered our genetics. They made us weaker. But we can then fix ourselves by correcting the language. This is why the master teacher has been stressing language for eons to us. Next point. And this is on page 24. Okay. It says they say that being children of the sun, we receive communications from the sun. Okay, so that's what this page talks about, that us being children of the sun, we actually have the ability to communicate with the sun. How is that possible? Because we make it clear and try to educate our people. All is mind. Everything is alive, including the planet Earth. Everything is alive, and all is mind. All is mind. Kalal Kawun Akal, we say. Kalal, which means all. Kawun is Akal, mind. Kalal Kawun Akal. Kalal Kawun Akal. All is mind. All is mental. That's what the wisdom of the Hutri taught us, teaches us. That all is mind, all is mental. Everything has a life force. This is what animism was all about. As our ancestors were always trying to explain, everything has a life force. And the sun is the most potent, powerful life force in all of existence. And it is mental, and you can communicate with it. And as children of the Natharu, or sun children, Melanite children, this is an ability of ours that we long forgot. We forgot how to do that. We're the only race that could do that. Page 27. Nuwapians should not be struggling. We should be wealthy. That goes back to what, when we were saying that we're supposed to be buying from each other, right? Only and sell to everyone else. If we did that, we would be building wealth. We shouldn't be struggling. And unfortunately, a lot of our people in our culture, are having challenges, or all of us are still working for the system, and this doesn't supposed to be. This is why I came up with the project NoopooCC.com, guys. This is why we set up this website here, for the sole purpose. This is, well, in fact, I have two websites. I got Noop. This is Noopoo.org, which was to introduce people into our culture. Okay. And then we set up the site here. This is the template for NoopooCC.com. And NoopooCC.com site is about our own social media platform for us to network with each other. Guys, I apologize. The site is done. The reason why people can't log in and do what it needs to do, because of the subscription page is still not done. And I'm supposed to have that been done. I'm just sorry, guys. There's no excuse. It's just bad form on my part, and I keep apologizing. And I'm not going to stop until I get it done. I mean, I've been working on this project for too long for all you guys to know. And so this is just a layout for the site. But again, people can build their own, page, like on Facebook and with this. And there's so much functionality, so much. It's just a big, massive project, and I'm by myself, and unfortunately it's a bad excuse, but it's the reality of what I'm doing. And there's so many things I'm doing, and I wish I had the help, because the help I actually need the help that I wish someone lived with me, honestly. Then it would make more effective, because when my brother was around, he lived with me, and we was able to do so many things, and I don't have that no more. And I'm working to get that, I'm working to get that, and we're going to get it. I'm not going to stop, so hopefully you guys don't give up on me. I'm not going to give up on you guys. And we're going to get this done. I'm not going to give up. But this project was about networking. I came up with this idea, guys. This goes back to 2000. When did I first created this website in 2007. That's how old it is. And then it was updated in 2011. Okay. And so this is when we added this component, the social engine component we added in 2011. And that was 11 years ago. And the only reason why it hasn't been developed because I've been so distracted with so many other business projects that I've been working on in that period of time. And there's a lot of stuff I've been doing since 2011 and now. And I actually had got the time within the last, I guess, since 2017, 2018, where I really had the time to focus on the site, the way I wanted, and I put a lot of time in that period of time, but just so much more to do. It's massive because in order to really develop a social engine, you're talking about hundreds, really millions of dollars. I'm be honest with you, for real talk, you're talking about millions of dollars, and we don't have that kind of capital. We don't have that kind of capital, and it's just the reality of it. But we don't. But we have to develop. We have to do these things. And we got to, because we got to stop going to the Mukasu, to help us. We have to do these things ourselves, and that means time and energy and labor. But, it is what it is. But so this is just a layout of, one of the pages. This is, the front page of it. And there's things you can do. There's so much more with this. Believe me, this is just a this is like the bare minimum of what this is going to look like when it's really fully built out. This thing is going to be phenomenal looking like. Trust me. It's just the energy and time to get this all done. And so I apologize. I'm sorry, but God, it's just, I only bring this up as an example of what we can do to build our own wealth. Now imagine this, right? Got the social engine going. We get 100,000 people on that social engine. The 100,000 people on that social engine will bring in tens of thousands of dollars a year, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, actually, in income. Now, NoopooH, when I'm doing NoopooH, everything is non-profit. So it's not about me trying to get rich off of anyone. Everything is going to be reinvested back into the project because my ultimate goal is to build academies. This is one of the businesses that I was in. Me and my ex-wife, we had a childcare. I've been in the childcare business since 1996. Very successful childcare as well. Allowed me buy my house and raise my children. I homeschooled my children. I have 3 children, and it did a lot. And I did a lot with the child, with the childcare business. In fact, if anybody goes on our website here, we talk about it. Our it's called NoopooH Culture Academy, and this is some information about it. And things we've been doing, and we set up African dance. We did an arts and crafts type of classes we were doing. There was many things that we set up. And so this is my background, my forte. My ultimate goal was for us to set up an academy. But to build a real academy, you're talking about millions of dollars, because I set this up, but it's on a low level. It's nowhere. I personally made decent money from doing it, me and my ex-wife, but it's nowhere near what we could do, if we had the funding and the support. I mean, the abilities of what we could do are almost limitless. It's amazing. And we had great influence. Like, this is one of the children in the academy. She's a grown woman now. Okay, because this was years ago. This picture right here, if anyone can see it, here we go here. And look what we was teaching her in this picture right here. She did a whole report for school, and she did it on a master teacher. Who are the Nubians? This was her lesson plan. Who are the Nubians? And this is what we were teaching in the academy. And she did this for her school because she learned it at our academy. And I don't know what grade she was in at the time, because right now, this young girl, she might be 20. She's either 20, 21 right now. And in this picture, she might be 10 or 11 years old. And you see here, she says, go to x.com and NoopooH.com. And so she has it right here. So she has the master teacher. Okay. Oh, she was in 2nd grade. I guess she was. Yeah. And so these are the things that we were doing, in the academy, in the the little academy that we set up for children. It started with childcare, and so I'm just trying to give, you guys an example of what could be done, what I've been working on for years, but it's just not easy. It's not easy in the sense of the help and the people, because I've tried many times to build with many different people. It's a challenge. It is a challenge, but we can never give up. We can never give up. But let's keep going. On page 33, it talks about the sun gives off 6 ether in evolution and 9 ether now that we are in the revolutionary cycle. So, I'm always talking about the SMAT circle. Okay. And let's see. The SMAT circle, right? And so we remember, guys, we are on the bottom of the SMAT circle. We're in a 3 ether dimensional cycle right now. The Earth, is in its lowest cycle of the universe, in a 3 ether cycle. And revolution means we're moving into a higher energy vibration, which is why, the sun's is getting hotter. The planet is getting hotter, and it's only going to get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter as you move up these cycles. Okay. And so the master teacher tries to make us aware of the signs of the times that we're in. The ending of one cycle, the beginning of another. It is imperative that we understand this. Our people don't understand this, but it's imperative that we do understand this. Okay. Page 37 talks about, because we did not rise by September the 9th, 2009, 6 ether got an extension of 8,000 years. We talk about the spirit forces of 6 ether. We had the ability. The master teacher has been trying to teach us to develop ourselves spiritually so that we can make contact with our ancestors. And we would, if we were able to do that by that date, right, then the masters would come, because they're coming from other realms. And they have starships. Again, this is why we've done a lecture on the whole UFO phenomenon, because our people, unfortunately, Black people, they really ignore that subject matter. And this is a very real subject matter. And we do have ancestors who exist on higher realms who would come down here, but they can only come if we're ready to go where they're going, because, guys, we live in a 3 ether realm. In order to go into their realms, you have to be vibrating at a minimum up to 4 ether. And your body's in a 4 ether realm is when you go, let's say, when you go with those who are familiar with going out of body, when you're in your out of body state, which is a high spiritual state that you would be in, your body is vibrating at that 4 ether realm. If you're able to go raise yourself to that level of vibration, then you'll be able to communicate with your ancestors. You'll be able to travel with them. Okay. The goal was for us to raise up to that level, them come get us, take us with them, educate us, right? Bring us back, and then we can restore righteousness back to the planet. That is the goal. That's still the goal. But there's departure dates, and we have been missing those departure dates, because the first departure date was in 2003. We missed that. This is why the disagreeable ones locked the master teacher up, to alter our ability to make these timelines. And 2009 was one of those timelines. And if, the master teacher said these spirit forces will continue to plague the planet, and until we're able, strong enough to get these forces off the planet. So there's a lot to unpack there, to go into more in that, but we don't have the time. If you guys have any questions on that, please ask, then we'll address it. Now, let's see. Page 38 talks about if you have a soul, you cannot be negative, which means you are possessed by six ether when you are being negative. So soul people are positive people. Soul people are positive people. So when you feel yourself in that negative state, that's those negative spirit forces moving through you. It is imperative that you understand that. Page 39. Children should be born in the dark and kept there for about 2 weeks, which will build their melatonin, aka children of the night. We are children of the night. Guys, this is something that was done on the continent. Now, the master told us, I know it was 8 days, a child would be born in I think they had cave systems, but they were born in darkness, and they would stay there for 8 days before the child came out. And so the master is saying that it is imperative that we learn these cultural practices again. Excuse me, build up our melatonin. This is why we can't communicate with the high dimensions, because our melatonin is weak, and that's why the Mukasu has what they say, the city never sleeps. They got lights all the time at night. It alters your melatonin production. You can't, it makes it hard to, to produce it. That's how you're able to travel at what they call spiritually travel or astral travel, astral project. We've talked about that before, again, many times. So I bring up the Doctor Strange movie because that's a good movie that shows you about the ability to astral project. And a lot of movies now are trying to show, talk about that. It also says we should be calling on family that we know that has transitioned for help from the higher realms, which is why I say we should have a day of remembrance. I was talking about, I think there's, we should develop. I was thinking about this day called a celebration, and I was thinking about like the 3rd week of April, and it's like a festival that I was thinking about setting up, and was calling it the Day of Remembrance. In our Lahaj or language, it would be Zamut Shalil Zakor. That would be the name of the event. Zamut Shalil Zakor, and it means Day of Remembrance, to remember a day to teach our people to remember their ancestors, to remember their loved ones who transition, that you still can make contact with them, that they're not dead. They just transitioned from one realm to another realm. We used to know that, but we don't know that. So we need a day every year to remind our people that they have that ability. And so the goal was to create some, an event like that, and so this is something else that's been on my agenda for us to be able to do, and all. Raul Bat, I've been trying to reach you, man. I'm so glad to see you. I've been trying to reach you, and so I need to build with you, Farrell. So definitely, I'm so glad, to see you. But yeah, so I was talking about a day of remembrance, that I think, like a festival. We do like a balloon ceremony at this event, right? And it's to everybody come, let's say everybody bring like pictures of like, family members, their grandparents, great grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever in their family that might have transitioned, and it's about them remembering that particular family member. And teaching is about educating our people that this was one of our sciences. This is one of our cultural practices, that we're able to make contact with family even after they transition. So we had this day of remembering. Appreciate that, Farrell. I'll hold you to it because we definitely need to build. But so again, guys, I hope if you guys like the idea, put a comment. If you like the idea, the Day of Remembrance, that having a festival, we do like culture, a cultural festival. We do African dance, and because my daughter is doing that now. We could do ceremonies, balloon ceremonies. We could do what's that? was that spoken word and poetry and music, and make it a nice festival. We're gonna have food. I'll do free food. We feed people and just a joyous event. And so because one of the things I like to have is statues and pictures, or pictures of ancestors, famous ancestors, that have transitioned. I mean, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. have his picture up there, Malcolm X. You have Booker T. Washington, you have the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, ancestors of ours that have transitioned, even our ancient ancestors, Amenhotep III, his wife Nisutet T. You have Tuk Unk Amun, their grandchild, Unk and Aten. You have Mansa Musa, right? You have Nisutet Ninzinga. So you have different ancestors, and it's introducing our people to the ability to make contact with them, that they're not gone. You have a Saw, you have a Set. Or we say Arashtat actually is the correction of her name. And it's not a Set, it's Arashtat, the master teacher said. And then you have Asar. But a day of remembrance. But it says we must work together to free Nabab. We must remember this life is about raising our tones to make contact with Panatharu so that we can leave. Okay. And so that was all on that page 39. All of these things that, to be remembered. Let me just say this about raising the vibration, to be able to transition. In this particular book, is this the book right here? No, not that one. Yes, it is. This is the book. This is an actual facts book that we put out. This is 936. This is one's called Reflections and Projections. It's Takus Wu-Tabrus. Takus Wu-Tabrus. It translates as Reflections and Projections. Actual facts number 29. Actual facts number 29. And there's a paragraph in here that talks about, very important paragraph. So I highlighted it. Paragraph 396. It says, you must find your own tone and tune into your own tazuz vibration to realign yourself with your ancestors so they can guide you when the time comes. He's talking about when the time comes to transition. For someone transition, we have the ability to make contact if you raise your vibration. I'll read it again. You must find your own tone and tune into your own tazuz, your vibration, to realign yourself with your ancestors. Salafu, ancestors, Salafu. Excuse me. Salafu, right? So they can guide you when the time comes for you to transition so you can move into the higher realms. Okay. So, this is imperative. Where we at now? Let me go back. Okay. Page 40. Page 42. We should be living as a community, and brothers should be propagating. We should be chanting because it opens a way to Panatharu. We need land so that we could build the 3 pyramids needed for transformation. We have pyramids on our land. So when the disagreeable ones invaded us, they took our land. And they destroyed the pyramids. They destroyed those pyramids, and the masters, the teachers, like, we need to get land back. We need to rebuild our pyramids, set up our rituals so that people can learn to align themselves again. That's why we need the money. That's why we need to build the wealth. That's why we need to be doing things, so we can get these things back on ball. That's why you think I read this in our goals, our principles. When I do these classes every week, all you got to do, what do we say? The 3 goals of Wu-Sabat, right? Raise the self. We just talked about that. Fight Leviathan. This is, fighting to get the master teacher out and us overcoming all these negative attributes, and then work to build Sabbatia. We need to get our own land so that we can set up shop. That's why I go over this every week. It is imperative. It is imperative. Okay. Then goes and say, we should have transformed by now. He said, this is on page 42. The master said, this is in the updates on page 42. He says, we should have transformed by now based on the readings. The readings became the new doctrine, aka actual facts and Patarat. The master teacher said we should have transformed by now. But unfortunately, we're not doing the rituals. We're not being consistent in doing the rituals. I'm guilty of that because we get sidetracked. You get caught up in your day-to-day, living, trying to live and pay bills and all the distractions that life gives you. That's why we need our own land, our own community. That's why the master teacher set that up so that we wouldn't have those kind of distractions. So we can be focused on developing ourselves. That's what that was all about. Guys, then it goes on to say, also on this page, it says, when the Bible says that Adam and Eve were naked, when they said they was naked in the garden, that meant that they were shedding their skin or scales because they were reptilians, guys. Now, a lot of people don't know that the, Adam and Eve, the true story about Adam and Eve, were reptilians. This is in our culture, guys. This is in our, listen, there's a book we put out. Let me see here. This is the we're at page 89. This is the book Are There Black Devils? On page 89. I believe this book came out in 2001, 2002, I believe. And Are There Black Devils? So this is the book, Are There Black Devils? And we're going to go to page 89. Hold on, my computer running slow for some odd reason, but we'll get it together. Let's go to page 89. This is a very powerful book for those who have not read it. This is a very powerful book. Are There Black Devils? He goes on page 89. I'm going to read from, let's see. I'll read from the top. Says, who was also known as Baal to the Canaanites? Let's see. Hannibal worshipped the god Baal. You know Hannibal? That's his name. Hannibal means he worshipped the god Baal. Okay, worship the god Baal or El, and brought the worship of the deity Baal into the environment. Now, Baal goes back to the Canaanite god Beelzebub. It referred to the 2 Kings in the Bible, chapter 1. It talks about that. Okay, meaning Lord of the Flies, who was the master of death in the underworld. He is also known as Baal Hammon, who had a wife named Tanet. Now, so when Mitzrayim came to Egypt, now Mitzrayim, one of the sons of Ham in the Bible, Noah had 3 sons, right? Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Okay, Ham had 4 sons. He had Canaan, the son who was cursed with leprosy. This is the origin of the Caucasian race. Then he had Shem. He had Japheth, and he had Ham. Ham, one of the sons of Noah. Oh, excuse me, I'm bugging out. No. That the sons of Noah is 3 sons. Noah had 3 sons, which is Shem, Japheth, and Ham. Right now, Ham had 4 sons, which was Canaan was one. Who was it? Phut and Mitzrayim and Cush were the sons of Ham. So Canaan, Phut, Mitzrayim, and Cush. I believe those are the 4 sons of Ham. Now, Cush is the Ethiopians, right? Cush and come from Ham, Noah's son, and Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is Egypt. In fact, if you go to Egypt today, that's what the Arabs call their country. They don't call it Egypt. They call it Mitra, or Mitram. It's from the Bible. It's a biblical name. Okay. Now, the Egyptians that we know about, that everybody talks about, dynastic Egypt, those people came from the Middle East, or the so-called Middle East. They were originally Chaldeans that was living in places like Iran, Iraq, what they call a Levant, which is Israel, and they migrated into Kemet, or into Egypt. The Mukasu used to teach that. They're scholars, but black people have been fighting them for eons. Say, no, the Egyptians are originally Africans. The Egyptians are originally Africans, yes. But here's the thing. The Mizraimites were black. They were the taller Africans. And the Mizraimites were living in the Middle East. The people who were living in Africa were the Tahites, the smaller Africans, the Sands people, the Twa people. They're the ones who ruled all of Africa before the Mizraimites came into Egypt. So this is important history that our people, we used to know this. We forgot our own history. Okay. So it goes on to say, so when Mitzrayim came to Egypt, as you know, the Egyptians already had the Ened and the Ogdogs. Who are the Ened? Another name for the Ened means the Subdeptu. That's why we call ourselves Sabaeans, because Subdeptu means they come from the star Sirius. Subdeptu, or Saba was another name for it. That and the Subdeptu was called, that was Asar, Aset, Nebtat, Sutuk, right? That was Atum, Atum-Re, Nut, Geb, or Sabab, we call them. And you had Tefafnatat, Tefnut, and you had Shu, or Shawa. Those were the Ened, or the Subdeptu. And the Subdeptu came from the Ogdog. The Ogdog, we also call them the Khamunu. It means the 8. And it says the Ogdog took their history to the sea, which gives the figure of half frog and lizard creatures, and gave birth to the Ened. So the Ened, or the Subdeptu, comes from the Ogdog, he says. If you look at the figures of Osiris and Isis, and you look closely at their characteristics, they are not all human. They look more like extraterrestrials. In fact, they were sea creatures because, as stated, the Ogdogs, or the Khamunu, were from the sea, and Atum rose from the sea, and from his descendants, the Eneds, or the Subdeptu, such as Isis, Horus, and Osiris. When the Mizraimites came over the Tigris-Euphrates River and mixed in with the dwarfs, the Tahites, who were descendants of the reptilians, the Ogdogs, these beings had their barytheric gland. The Mizraimites accepted these sea beings as their brethren, which is Tahuti and Bes, and admired their metaphysical doctrine. Their culture was called NoopooH, and Tahuti's dealing with the mind became the talisman for them. Guys, this is where we get the culture of Wu-Sabat, or NoopooH, from the Ogdog, or the Khamunu, we call them. The Khamunu, who gave birth to the Subdeptu, right? And they were reptilians. They were human reptiles. Human reptiles. So when the master is saying the story in the Bible, when it says that Adam and Eve was naked in the garden, right? What that story really meant, when they were naked, it meant that they were shedding their skin or scales because they were reptilians. They lost their genetics, altered. That's in essence what he was saying. From our reptilian genes, it's in our bloodline. It's in our bloodline, guys. For those who don't know, now you know. Page 44 in the updates, it talks about reggae is our music. The master teacher says reggae is our music. Okay. Nabab does not want to come out to a nation in chaos. We must fix ourselves as Sabaeans, he was talking about. So this is what the updates were saying. As Sabians, we got to get ourselves in order. We're fighting to get them out, but at the same time, we must also be in order. That again, that goes back to why, and when I do my my intros, right? I always talk about our 3 goals, right? Raise yourself, get ourselves together, fight Leviathan. That's working to get the master teacher out and work to build Sabbath. We should be setting up our land, our culture, so that the master, he comes into something. We have something for him. But that's only going to happen if we start working together, guys. Working together. People got to reach out. That's why I do these discussions. People reaching out so we can make plans, set real goals, set real agendas. I have an action plan. I set it up. If anyone wants to listen, that's why I'm doing all these different things. I've been doing it for years, but people got to want to be a part to support, right? To support. Okay, so let me go back. Where we at? So this was on page 44 in the updates. It says Nabab explained that he is God, having the power to make it rain in your house, and has the power to come out of prison at will. Guys, we really don't understand, and it's sad. Our people really don't understand who the master teacher is. The master teacher is a noon being. He's a noon being. Okay? Which means he has the ability to raise and lower his vibration. And if he has the ability to raise his vibration, he could walk out of that prison if he really wanted to. Because we lost our science, we don't understand what that means. And so it sounds magical and mystical to us. But if anyone who really is deep into spirituality, know you have those abilities to do that. The master teacher has those abilities. He can affect things in nature. If you understand, again, that's why we would try to introduce our people to morphic resonance. I talk about it. I've yet to do a discussion on it, on what morphic resonance is really all about. If you really understand the morphic resonance, guys, this is how the Mukasu was able to do a lot of his stuff scientifically, because he learned about this science. He's new to it, so he was able to create those bombs, the atomic bombs, because he understands resonances. That's how they were able to do a lot of the stuff they do in chemistry. This is how they even built their architecture, because they understand resonance. Guys, look up architecture, mechanical vibration. Look that up. This is how they understand how to build certain buildings, because to make them earthquake proof almost. Look it up. All right, he says also he talks about love has different meanings depending on how it's used, right? So when we use ashak, that's divine love, talking about the natharu, connecting with the energy creation forces of existence, right? That's ashak, being in harmony with nature itself, being at one, being at peace, right? That's, divine love, okay? But then you have shep. Shep means love between two people. So when you say, I love this person, someone, we use the word shep. Okay. And then you have hub. That's love to like a person or a thing. You say, I love this. I love that basketball team. I love my car. You'll use the word hub. And then you have wadud. That means to adore a person or thing. Oh, she's so pretty. He's so this. He's so that. Oh, I love that look. And that's hub, right? Or that's wadud. Okay. So, that's important to know those different forms of, love, right? Important. Now, page 45 in the updates, it says, talks about President Barack Obama marked the end of Pa Mukasu's rule. That's important, guys, to know. That's what, it's not that Obama did anything for black people. No, you got to understand why they would even feel it was necessary to even bring someone like Barack Obama to select him. As racist as white people are, and only reason why they would select a black man to be the face of their empire is for maximum deception. And if they have to sink that low to continue to deceive people, that means they had lost power. That's why they're pushing miscegenation. Back in the day, they would never want a black man to engage and impregnate white women. Black men, as y'all all know, get killed for that. Now they're pushing white women on us like no end. They're pushing all this interracial stuff like no end. They know that the black gene is dominant. So obviously that's really not in their best interest, but they're doing it anyway because they have no choice. They're at the end of their rule. Their rulership is up. And that's what the master was trying to say. Barack Obama was a turning point, letting you know they're done. That's why he's saying that. He goes on to say, as a nation, we are obligated to take care of our elders, guys. They should be able to enjoy their life. Women should be working for the family and not out working for the Mukasu. This is not wise or safe. These are just principles in our culture that we're supposed to be living by, guys. This is why, I know it's difficult for us to do that. It's only difficult because we're not working together collectively, and that's why I'm trying to come up with ideas and concepts where we could, if people, reach out and say, hey, yeah, we do need to support each other in different things, and I think the idea of a festival is a good idea if we can support that, because that one bring attention to us. People, people like coming to festivals. Our people love that, and we need to bring more notoriety to Wu-Sabat. It'll only help us all. He says men are supposed to be propagating the doctrine. Our dress is Sabaean/African attire, or black, or just be clean when you're propagating. People should be yearning for our doctrine, he says. They are wondering where we went. This was in the updates. We're not out there. We used to be out there. Everybody used to know who we are, and we're not out there anymore. And we should be. But again, in order to do this, we need to be organized. We need to be talking to each other. We need to be brainstorming with each other. We need to be coming up with these ideas. Like I said, I wrote an action plan. I think the first thing we need to do, we need a census. It's something I've been talking about for a long time. We need a census. We need to know who's who in our nation. We need to know what each individual skill set is. We have to. And if we talk about a nation, then how can we be a nation? We don't have a tax system. How are we going to raise income if we're not setting up our own tax structure so that we can begin to set real projects up? I mean, come on, guys. The black churches are doing it. How you think they were to build these insane mega churches? Because the people are supporting it. They're building their nation. How can we, if we don't do these things, how are we going to grow if we're not going to support each other economically? These are the things we need to talk about. He says it's about black power like the 60s, right? We have to get back. We have to have the mindset about black power. We have different titles. This is all on page 45 of the updates, guys. He put all this information. All this information was on that page. I goes on to say we have Himutu. That stands for the builders within our nation. You have Nibu. That means that name is for the ministers or teachers like myself, or priests or prayer leaders in our nation. We're called Nibu, right? And then you have Mijetu. Mijetu are the protectors. Those are the protectors of our nation, right? The security. We call them the nobles in our nation. Then you have Pawabu. Pawabu, I would also be considered that. Those who are lecturers, teachers, right? Like myself, or priests. Okay. And then you have Hanutu. And that's keepers of the secrets and mystic rituals. That's Nabab Yaa-nanan himself. He's Hanutu. Okay. And then we also have the royal drummers of Sabbatia. So you got brothers in our nation who they're the drummers. They're the drummers in our nation. And the master, we supposed to be drumming and chanting every day. We stopped it. And the master said that stuff was working. If we were drumming and chanting every day and maintain a positive mind and focus attention on our chant or what our goals is and what we want to achieve, that's a force that we can make things happen. That's what the law of attraction is all about. That's why they've been pushing that throughout this nation, the secret and all that stuff. That's an Egyptian science. Guys, read the actual facts. Natural ether energy. That's what that actual facts is trying to teach you about. These are forces that we're able to influence. These forces, if you put in the right tones and frequencies, you can make things happen. Did I? You know what? Let me see. Did I talk about something like that? No, this was something else. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. Page 47 in the updates. It says learn your body. It tells you when and what you should eat. He says bad diets affects your etheric or your etheric or spiritual body. Bad diet affects your etheric or spiritual bodies, guys. Whatever you eat becomes a part of you. So when a person transitions, the energy of what you ate is a part of your spiritual essence, which would hold you down to this plane, becoming a lost soul. I can't stress that enough, guys. Remember, everything has energy. The food you eat has energy. And so if you have a bad diet and you have all that excess, weight and things on your essence, right? When you transition, when your physical body, when you physically die, transition, that essence it's still locked. The energy of the essence is locked to your spirit, is what the master teacher is trying to say. It's locked to your spirit body. That's why that's what makes people, that's why people can't transition up to the higher dimensions, because they never develop themselves. That's why we do the rituals to develop your spirit energy, to make you, so that you can move into the higher realms. But because of the culture we live, it keeps us locked into the third dimension. Guys, again, going back to the smack circle, we're on here, we're on the 3 ether realm. You're trying to move into the 4 ether realm, 5, all the way up to 9. But because we're not doing the rituals, when your physical body die, you just reincarnate back here. You get locked here, like the Mokasu. The Mokasu's trapped in this realm. They can't move into the higher realms. And because we live their culture, we're trapped here with them. This is why we call the master teacher the savior, because he's the one that is teaching us the information how to move into the higher realms. So we're not stuck in this realm like the majority of our people are stuck here. And diet has everything to do with it, guys. Okay, so like he put out, I got this book right here. Where is it at? This book we put out, What is Soul and Spirit, right? What is soul and spirit? And he gives a breakdown. He says your self is made up of 3 things: the soul, spirit, and the body. The spirit is the skin of the soul. If this is kept healthy, you can live on consciously. If not, it wears away and you are left with only the soul, which goes back into the wind. Ruach. The soul is the etheric body or essence that connects the mind or mental flow to the spiritual world. Once the mental flow is cut, the etheric world is cut off. So what he's saying here, guys, see this diagram right here? So soul, okay? The soul is this inner, this is the soul. The line goes this inner essence, which is your soul force. And then your spirit is like a skin over that soul force. And then your physical body is over your, over your spirit. Okay. Now, when the physical body, dies, it goes back to the earth. You're left with your spirit and your soul force. But now, if you don't develop yourself spiritually and you don't strengthen your spirit force, your spirit energy, right? Then what the master's saying is that's it. Your soul just, goes back into the, back into the universe, connects with the, the universal all. Okay. And because you need your spirit to strengthen your spirit in all to keep that string, so that your soul will connect you, because your soul connects you to the higher realm. Your soul connects you to those other higher realms, right? But you have to have a strong spirit. Your spirit is your personality. Your personality deals with your culture. So that deals with your mind. So your mind, in essence, what we're trying to say is you have to have the right mind, because you can't take 6 ether energy into those high realms where we're going. That's important. I hope you get that. It's a lot. That's why I hope you guys study these discussions and really get these concepts down. Okay, so that was on page 47. He says, you cannot have a dirty body and a clean soul. Panatharu does not recognize funk whatsoever. That's on that page, on those updates, page 47. That's what they talk about. Page 48. This was update that was in 2008 in November. It says Nabab said he does not think students will make it because they can't stop their bad habits, and they are too negative, which opens them up to 6 ether spirits. Our children should be taught to speak our language and not English. He also says, so, y'all can, that speaks for itself. Page 50 and the updates. This was an update November 2012 visit. Panabab said that it is clear that our race are not ready to rule self and kind, which is why the world is in chaos. He said it is taking way too long to get Wu-Sabat to the people who needs its cure. He said that he has been gone for 10 years and wanted to take many with him on his journey back to the stars. But it is clear that most are not ready to transform back to Muntaru. That and that's because we're not really doing the rituals. Our people really not studying this doctrine like textbook, man. Like, because you'll see it in our actions. You'll see us as a strong organization, and we're not seeing that because we're not developing ourselves spiritually. I can't stress that enough, but let's keep going. On page 51, it says this was update February 2017. Panabab said that he gave us our own language that we all must learn and speak, which will give us the power to free him. Nawapic/Sabeg is spoken on other planets. It comes from Mars, he says. So our ancestors in other realms speak, Sabeg, guys. Says men in our tribe should wear the patah, which is a red dot on the forehead. The Indians call it the bindi. It symbolizes the third eye. So actually, that's one of our symbols. We see the Hindus do it a lot. It's one of our symbols, guys. Says these are the three. He says this: Dr. Ben, Afro Uno, and Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. They always come in threes with the same incarnated being, it says. That's interesting. So the same spirit force is moving through all these individuals. Now, I've argued about Afro Uno. I did a whole thing on that. I've been fighting the Noonie Boost for those who know about that. I've been arguing that Afro Uno is Amanubi Ura Okta, and Amanubi Ura Okta is the master teacher. Now, whether anyone wants to accept it or not, people should have studied the information from Afro Uno, which is called the Nature books. The Nature books, all it mainly focuses on is the SMAT circle. It's teaching about the cycles. In fact, if you really were to study the nature information, it'd make comprehending our doctrine even more easier for people, because it gives a really great breakdown on this SMAT circle, and it's very detailed, that the master really doesn't go into detail like that in our books. Although he's been updating the nature with our new books, like the natural ether energy actual facts. But this is a book we put out called Natural Ether Energy, right? That's an update from the nature. If somebody read the nature, they would know that. They would know that was an update from that information. Literal update, Natural Ether Energy. And a lot of the actual facts is updating the nature doctrine. But how would you know what the update is if you don't read and study the nature doctrine? And the master teacher points out that Afro Uno obviously is a very important individual. just like Dr. Ben, you know, is a very important person because Dr. Ben really pushed black people need to pay attention to Egypt, that Egypt, you know, is our culture. So there's a lot of, you know, a lot of respect for that. Although a lot of people, you know, get on the master teacher because he called Dr. Ben a black devil back, you know, like in the year 1991 or whatever. But you know, it's that's a whole discussion all to itself. Master teacher has praised Dr. Ben, you know, and that's where the master teacher stands. He did a great thing, at least making our people aware that Egypt is black. Egypt is black, you know. So that is what it is. On page 55, let's see, says the soul is like the placenta, the spirit is the yolk, and the body is the shell that houses it. The placenta, aka soul, is what attaches the body to the other world and supplies the spirit with energy. The soul is from the reservoir of all. The spirit is the all, and the body is. Once the soul separates from the body, it either goes to Saha or Orion, was the star constellation, Saha, or Subdeptu, or what they call Sirius, if you resurrect. Now, so in understanding this concept, so he said the soul is your placenta, right? Your spirit is the yolk, right? The body is the shell that houses it. Now, the placenta, aka soul, is what attaches the body to the other world and supplies the spirit with energy. So here's the thing, going back to the book we were just looking at in the soul spirit. So the soul, your soul force was in the center, your substance. This is what connects you to the universe. The soul force actually connects you to the multiverse, the omniverse. And you can pull non-ether energy into the body because you have a soul force. And that's what strengthens your spirit. That's how you strengthen your spirit. And you do that through the rituals. That's why we keep teaching. You got to do the rituals. You strengthen your spirit energy and if you strengthen your spirit energy, that's how you increase your intellect. You increase your intellect by developing yourself spiritually. Because we're not doing it, that's why we keep saying this is the only way. This is how we rise, you know, as a people, by doing these things. So you know, can't stress it enough. Page 60. No flesh-eating creature could go through to other realms. No flesh-eating creature can go through to other realms. So that is what it is. Now, I will say this. The master teacher said it's fine to eat chicken and I believe fish, you know, but so take that as it may with a grain of salt. Even if you eat that stuff, I highly recommend, you know, really eating it no more than twice a week, 3 times a week, you know. And 4 days, at least 4 days out of the week, you shouldn't eat any kind of flesh. So that's just my recommendation, guys. Page 61 in the updates, he talks about the mother who is mom, who is M/Am or Om, guys. See that? Om, who is Om or M or Mum or Amun. So that's the breakdown. That's where the Amun or the word mom comes out of Amun. Amun, mom, Om. That's where we get Om from. Where the Hindus chant. The Hindus got that from us. Guys, those chants, how to connect. That's the chant you do to connect, to raise your vibration and make contact with your soul force, your higher self, your oversoul, guys. So that was the breakdown the master put, you know, in that update. So I think that was kind of pretty cool. He says 6 ether is in our genes, which is why the first thing taught in the hereafter doctrine is to clean yourself inside out, guys. We've talked about that a lot, that these forces are in us. When you reactivate, you will go down to alpha wave and can go to another dimension. When you reactivate, you will go down to alpha wave and you can go into other dimensions. Anyone who knows about, astral projection, spiritual travel, the way you do that is dropping your body vibration down to alpha wave. That's when you're in that it's like between that sleep and woke state when you're in an alpha wave. When you're in deep meditation, you drop down to alpha wave, guys. And that's how you're able to, go out of body. And when you're able to go out of body, then you can move into the other realms, is what he's trying to say. Then you talk about the beings from the Sumerian doctrine, Anunnaki. You have Enki, right? You have Marduk, his son, and you have Marduk's son, Nabab. He talks about mixed in with African women and came under Panatharu. So that's also in the actual facts. He talks about these beings, these Anunnaki who are connected to the Natharu because they mixed into our bloodline. So we're connected to them. And the master obviously is connected to Enki. For those who know those stories. On page 62, he says, did you know that Greys abduct people to keep the planet in balance? He says. So if 50 Anunnaki come to this planet, like in the past, 50 people would have to be abducted, he said. This is why the Greys are used, because they float and have no weight. So when the Greys come into this realm, they're vibrating at a rate. They don't add into the weight of the planet, because the planet has to maintain a certain balance. And so he was trying to say the people, that's another reason why people are abducted. That's interesting. That's deep. I mean, everything, see, the universe is based on Ma'at, balance. That's why we said our whole culture is based on the principle of Ma'at, because in order to have order, right, you have to have balance. In order to have balance, you have to have justice. In order to have justice, you have to have righteousness. Guys, watch the lecture we did on that, on Ma'at. Our whole culture, Wu-Sabat, is all based on Ma'at, maintaining Ma'at, which means you have to maintain a balance. You can't have order without balance. You can't have order without balance. And that's a high science to understand balance, because balance has to be on all levels. And that's why we're so messed up as a people, because we lost that science of balance, right? If you awoke, when you're awake, the body eventually has to go to sleep and eventually awake, right? That's a balance between sleep, right, and awoke period. Okay, you can't stay up all the time. You can't sleep all the time. Creates an imbalance. You couldn't survive. So that's why if you're eating, you also have to fast. That's how you maintain a balance. But because we live a culture that don't teach us this, our people is all out of balance. This whole planet is out of balance because it's chaos here. We lost our culture. That's why we keep saying we must relearn Wu-Sabat so we can bring balance back, to the planet. Page 68 in the updates, it says this planet was designed for 3 races of people, he said. But because of so much mixing, which created hybrid children in which many are not in alignment with natural nature. So when they breathe, this excretes poison into the atmosphere, guys. That's why we keep talking about miscegenation. There was some nature creates. When you start altering nature's plans, you create adversity in your environment. And so I know people love, mixing it with other races, but nature says you don't supposed to do that, because your genetics are designed for you. And when you mix in with another genetics, you alter that, which you alter nature's plans. We used to know this science. In our culture, we don't know it. And so we're doing so many things thinking it's the right thing to do. It's okay because you say, I love this person. You shouldn't, I shouldn't be judged who I loved or whatever. And that's why I try to introduce, our people don't even know what love is. First of all, they surely don't know what Ashak, being connected to the creative force. They have no concept, because what they really call love is really lust. And that's a whole nother discussion all to itself. Now, on page 69, he talks about, because of all this mixing, This planet is out of whack and it's on its way to destruction. That's why they almost that's why the masters have been saying there's a reset. The planet has to be reset. It's a lot of destruction that's coming. Because as you see, the Mukasu is chaotic, man. They just, you see that war they just started in Ukraine for no reason, just craziness, because they're warriors, warmongers. It's just chaos. They love chaos. That's how they rule. It is what it is. Let's see. Page. Guys, you know what? In fact, what's the name? The brother, the young elder, he put out on his for those who are familiar with him, he put out this right here. I watched it. This was deep. This female who was a part of the secret government. She was raised in a secret government. And he put out, she was being interviewed by David Icke. Her name is Arizona Wilder. If you ever hold on. If you ever heard of her, watch this. It's on his the brother young elder. It's on his his YouTube channel, and she does like three or four interviews with David Icke explaining how the ruling elite are nothing but humanoid reptilians that are ruling this planet, from the Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, to the Bushes, to the. She says she personally experienced all of this stuff because she was born into it. She was born into it. It's deep, very, very interesting knowledge. Check it out. Check it out, guys. I highly recommend it because it ties into what we've been teaching. That's why the young elder put that out there. It's very deep, very deep. Check it out. Highly recommend that. Okay. Page 72 in the updates. It says Panatharu said do not watch porn because it messes up your vibration, and because we are connected to them, they pick up these frequencies. Your body's supposed to rejuvenate every 48 hours, and porn alters your frequency, guys. Stop watching it. The masters, they watch us. They monitor us, guys. They monitor us. We would know that if we would develop, but because our third eye is closed, we can't make contact. And so, it becomes spookism to most of our people because they don't know anything about their own spiritual nature. Again, we lost our culture. You have to develop yourself so you would know these things again. Page 91. In the updates, it says we should be chanting every day as a body of people. Chanting opens vortex to Panatharu. That's important, guys. We have to figure out how to get this chanting thing back going. Okay. On page 92, question was asked as to why we have not been able to rise and make contact with Panatharu as a tribe. Answer: because of the negative mind. People smile on the outside but have an issue with others that they keep secret, guys. So there you have it. On page 93 of the updates, he talks about we must fight all negative attacks on us. Do not let people speak ill of us without defending ourselves, right? We've been getting all this nasty negative publicity and got people believing that the master teacher is guilty and all that other stuff, and we have not properly, effectively fought that. And that goes back to a lot of our, disorganization, and it's a lot of chaos, and we got to fight through that. It's sad, but that's reality. Page 96 on the updates, it says Nabab Yaa-nanan came to teach tones. He says vibration, sound, color, frequency of the universe. The galaxies where we are supposed to go, the devil / Mukasu is not allowed. So if you have his ways in your nature, you will not be allowed. Okay. And again, goes back to raising your vibration, guys. This is how you get those negative spirit forces out of you as well. The negative thoughts that we constantly have. On page 98. Says we gave up on our divinity. When we give up on our divinity, we gave up intellect. So when we lost our spiritual insight, our spiritual abilities, it reduced our intelligence. We lost our intellect, guys. That's what I was saying before. When you develop yourself more spiritual, raises your intellect because you have more brain energy flowing through the brain. Your brain synapses, it increases, and it increases your awareness. Like that movie, watch that movie. What's that movie? Limitless. That's a kind of good perception of what raising up really means, almost. Apex, we got a question. So what are we to expect on the next opening of the Vortex 2023? Those vortexes open up, the masses come through those vortexes to see if we're ready. If we're ready, if you were raised, now let's say you were someone who raised your vibration to those realms, you got to at least raise up to the spiritual plane, guys. Just so you know, if you was able to raise your vibration up to that realm, then you'll be able to communicate with them. You see them, you'll be able to talk to them, and they will give you personal updates. Like all of us who are not connected, we have to get all our information from the master. So the master is the one channeling all of this information from them. He's connected. His job is to teach us how to connect. But like he said, like we were saying, most students, they're not doing the spiritual work. And plus you got a lot of students just waiting for the master to get out because they think that they still need something from the master teacher. And I just read, he said, you got everything you need. I already read that. We have everything we need. We just have to do it. It's like, I don't know how to play basketball. Someone gives you a manual on how to play basketball, but you never bothered to pick up the ball, dribble it, and practice. You can't do it unless you practice, and we're not practicing. Gawada says, because we did not raise by September the 9th, 2009, do we have another deadline to raise? Yeah, 2030 is the ultimate deadline. 2030 is the ultimate deadline. If we do not raise by the year 2000, then this planet is going to be plagued for the next 24,000 years by six ether forces. So what six ether is doing now, that's why six ether is pushing miscegenation, because what happened is they're trying to get black people to mix in with Mukasu, Caucasians, so that their spirit forces could go into black people. Because the mixed blacks, the half-breed, the mulatto blacks are going to be our next problem. The Asiatics are going to be our problem ruling on the planet. So six ether will be able to rule through those people. And they're going to continue the chaos because the Mukasu is going extinct. The albino race won't be able to survive on this planet for the next in the next 60 years to 100 years. The albinos are going to be gone. And so, but those spirit forces are going to still be here. Those spirit forces are going to be here, and they're going to be in our people. They're in our people now. That's why our people are so freaking devilish. That's why we act just like the Mukasu, because we have his spirit forces in us. Because of all that mixing in, we keep mixing in. This is the problem. So yeah, 2030 is our deadline, because the masters they have these crafts, these spacecraft, these ships, and they're moving through our solar system. The master teacher said they're gonna, the time for them to pick up will be 2030. Now he says they'll be out of range by 2043. So I don't know if you can raise up. If you raise up by 2000, let's say 38, you'll be able to make it on a craft or not. I'm not sure. I can't, I don't know. That's a question for the master, because he said they'll be completely out of range by the year 2043. They're going to go through the vortex. And when they do that, they'll be in another universe, a parallel universe. And there's no communicating with them. But you still can raise up. You can, because all pure souls who resurrect, right? You still can make it to the star constellation. Your soul force will take you to either Orion or Sirius, Septu. We said Saha, we call it. Orion is Saha, or Subdeptu, which is Sirius. So you still can connect. Well, that's the individual thing. You got to remember, we have to do this as a race. We're all of us who come from this planet are responsible for our whole race on this planet. We're all responsible for the whole race, guys. We must know that. We can't leave. No one gets left behind. We have to help our planet. That's why the masters who are working with us, trying to help us, a lot of them are from this planet. Okay. Well, it's about that time. Let me try to get a couple more. And let's see. I'm almost done anyway. On page 101, question says universe. Answer. There is no such thing as universe. There are dual verse and multiverses, right? He says. Now, I think what he's trying to say here, because I wasn't there at the update at the meeting when they had those questions. Meaning that the Mukasa makes you think that you're just living in a universe. That's it. No, we live in a multiverse, omniverse, so there's not just a universe, right? There's many. And so I think that's kind of where it was, because we know we do exist in a universe, but it's a universe of a multiverse of universes. So I think that's where that's coming from. I could be corrected, but I believe that's where it's coming from. All right, now, yeah, okay, this is it. I'm done. I got like 3 more. Page 105 says we have to turn back to amphibians. He says we have to turn back to amphibians. He said those people who don't make it off the planet, you're gonna have to learn how. Now I heard him personally say this. This was back in the 90s. He said that all you guys who don't raise up, you guys are gonna have to learn how to live back in the waters again, and all. So you're gonna have to learn how to activate your DNA to be aquatic again. Remember, our original ancestors, the Kamunu, the Ogdog, they were amphibians. They lived on land and water. Okay, so that's important now. Says when you look at the movie's Mission to Mars, he says the ship leaves just before the planet blows up, or Star Trek, they do the same thing. In these movies, they make it just before the last moment. Well, that's going to be us, or those who transform, he says. It's going to be like the movie. Those people, and he says, those people who transform is going to be like you just made it. You just made it, because so many people are procrastinating, are not taking it serious. And he said that's kind of how it's going to be like. So, all right, page 113 of the updates, it says the reason why Panatharu wore animal headdress was because they took on the attributes and traits of that animal. So when you see that in the hieroglyphs of the different types of animal headdress, he said they were taking on the attributes and the traits of the animal spirit force that they were emulating. That movie Mortal Kombat kind of goes into that. Watch the movie Mortal Kombat, the second one. They talk about that. That you take on certain animal spirit forces. That's something the Native Americans are into, those teachings, guys. So that's in our culture. And then the last one, page on page 137, says our thoughts have a gravitational pull. The more thoughts focus on a person, place, or thing creates a force of will for that person, place, or thing. This is black magic at work, getting Nabab, Yaa-nanan free, or really a way to achieve any goal, which is why positive relationships are key, because people are the power. Thoughts are things. As a person thinks, so shall they be, for all actions are preceded by thought. Now, I paraphrase on this page because it doesn't read exactly like that, but that is exactly what the message is trying to be said, that the power of thought, the power of focused thought, we have the power to make things happen through focused thought. Again, going back to that whole thing about The Secret, for those who are familiar with that was our science. We used to know how to make things happen, but we're so negative. We have so much doubt. This is what's blocking us, the negative mind. Those are spirit forces who do that to us, put those doubt in us, and that's what cuts the flow. And we have to learn to overcome those things. That's why it's hard for us to to live together, to be together, because we have all this doubt and this negative energy, and I don't like this person, we don't like that, and we don't realize that the problem is because we have clashing energies. That we have clashing energies. I don't know how else to say that. See, when your third eye opens up, you can actually see people's energy, frequencies, because there's certain energies that you come around and you'll have a natural aversion to it. So once you develop yourself spiritually, you can learn how to deal with certain energies, how to deal with them, how not to deal with them. This would allow us to work more effectively together, because we got to learn how to deal with people on what you can agree with, and the things that you have an issue with, you separate. You come together on the things you do work on, and you separate on the things you're not connected to with. These are things we need to learn. So I got up, as you guys can see, I got up to page 133, right? Page 133, because like I was saying, these updates that I'm getting all this information from, it goes up to 300 pages. So we're going to do part 2 next week. We're going to do this again next week, and we're going to go to the next, several pages, because I only got up to page 137, and it's 350 pages. So it's a lot of information, and I'm gonna try my best to get through. But guys, watch this lecture again. Watch this, study what we're trying to say here. The concepts, the principles, everything we're putting is very, very imperative, very, very important. So I highly recommend you guys, definitely study what we're saying. I'm always telling you, watch it again, a minimum 3 times, guys. You how you build. What I say, repetition is the master of all skill. Repetition is the master of all skill. Repetition is the master of all skill. You have to embody this, has to become a part of your day-to-day life, your actions, your thoughts, how you make these decisions to, make these things work for you. Make this stuff work for you, guys. Okay. It's imperative. So with that all being said, we're going to end with we do our prayer systems, our 9 o'clock prayer systems that we do before we sign off, right? So as for those who are not familiar with our prayers, right, we do our prayers at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m. for our spiritual development, right? Prayer. Why we do that? For synchronization. That's what I was saying, the power of energy, of thought. You connect, you make things happen. You connect, you make things happen. This is why it's if we was living as a community, then we can really do it as a group, and we really can affect things. We really have these spiritual powers and abilities. We just forgot. So we do our prayers in our Lahaj, our language, Sabaic. We have the English translation right below it. So those anyone can follow it. I highly recommend it. Follow me and do it at the same time for those who know it. Let's begin. Bade Kalal Namasat Wufad Kor America Samun Shalal Put Pa Takyu Yud Anuki Jawef Pa Ashuk Impa Put Wu Kale Ashuk Kawun Jawef Nia Anuki Kasamun Impa Put Wu Pa Put Kawun Kasamun Nia Anuki Wahu Ama Pa Put Wu Pa Put Kawun Wahu Ama Nia Naku Kador Naju America Samun Impa Put Wu Habu Ama Muskasun Naku Kador Kawan Kaleb Afaf Naku Daya Jaweb Pa Put Ama Wase Ama Dayani Kawun Lake Baku Jaweb Pa Put Anuki Yabab B Nafasni Pa Put Kawun Anuki Pa Put Kador Naku Kador Pa Put Amu Naku Amu Lahehum Menahnun Lahehum Menahnun Ahumata Karehum Ahumata Karekum Ahumata Karenun Ahumata Jwefnia Ahumata Nia Wu Anuki Hum Yaye Ashuk Re'e Asmua Jayenun Yaye Nataru Afuknun Anunata Mukra Ukum Yaye Nataru Afuknun Afuknun Yaye Nataru Nun Anun Atun Amun. Namazo wahu, yaye mufaku. Yayehu, yayehu, yaye nataru. Yaye soye, yaye nataru. Yaye hika, yaye nataru. Ankum at the pa mufaku. Yayehu, yaye nataru. Ankum at the pa mufaku. Bu anun at the mukra'ukum. Bu ankum at the musanun. Yayehu, yaye nataru. Aro muklasnum atum re'e. Yayehu, yaye nataru. Namazo atu aronhu. Yaye mukdamu afutnun. Ankum mane yake laduda muslafunun. Wu musaunun. Mane yake sawura pa. Mane yake kawuna ka'u. Mane yake ata akhak. Mane yake kawuna basha wu damam. Yaye nataru mukdamunun. Aro muftadnun. Anhu kawun muzal mane pa nataru. Aro anhu. Anhu kawun baba Yaa-nanan. Aro anhu. Anhu kawun atum re'e. Aro anhu. Anhu kawun haro. Namazo dalu. Yaye nataru muslafunun. Afutnun mane pa mochwa'u. Afutnun mane gaha'an. Yaye nataru afutnun. Mane saya khayara. Afutnun afutniya. Afutniya. Yaye nataru nun. Namazo rabu pa tahmui. Nakuk talub tahmui bi pa nataru. Mane pa la'en lawi tananu. Kale ranu atni at the lahe pa nataru. Wu kale namazo atni at the lahe kiyad ayatun laye pa nataru. Pa sawa wu pa tarot. Panemisfa kawun. Pa sawa wu pa tarot. Z kawuna nazula lahe ankum. Mane masbad wu masa. Ama hade'un. Wu dama'un. Mane muslafukun. Wu nataru. Ajulaye nafasukun. Afuk shene kawun kun. Pa sawab wu pa tara. Pa hadayan wu pa damal. Anun tawo ankum. Lahe penen damal wu shafe. Anun tawo ankum. Lahe tem nasui nun. Anun tawo ankum. Lahe ashukuma. Ankum at the muslafunun. Anun at the mukra'ukum. Anun talub nasar kuma. Anun talub nasar kuma. And so nun kahen nataru. And so nun muslafunun. Anun at the musbatu. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amun. Yaye nataru nun. Yaye muftau. Yaye nataru. Yaye atum re. Yaye natar. Yaye nun. Yaye natar. Yaye nun tat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye ha. Yaye natar. Yaye hatat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye kak. Yaye natar. Yaye kaktat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye amun. Yaye natar. Yaye amun tat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye atum. Yaye natar. Yaye shishas. Yaye natar. Yaye tafaf natat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye sabab. Yaye natar. Yaye natat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye aras tat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye asar. Yaye natar. Yaye nabab tat hatat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye satach. Yaye natar. Yaye hara. Yaye natar. Yaye haptwi. Yaye natar. Yaye anaktat. Yaye natar tat. Yaye ha haratwi. Yaye natar. Yaye Nafartun, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Mantu, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Bapti, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Sachem Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Hata Haratat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Ba'ibes, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Patata, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Basastat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Imhatap, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Hu, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Matat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Mahat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Kafaf Re'e, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Mishkinat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Re'e Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Kinsman to you, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Hika, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Ma'at, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Renan Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye She, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Sashat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Mafdat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Sabak, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Anak, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Chanun, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Chanas, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Patata Nun, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Soye, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Haktat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Amas, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Saraptwi, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Atum Re'e, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Dahutwi, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Patata Warat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Sakar Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Ha, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Neheb Ka, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Sakar, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Ba'a, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Akar, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Imharatat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Wapawatat, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Sachat Hatap Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Meritat Sakar Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Soye Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Garatat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Asatinu, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Bahatat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Chanam Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Manaktat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Chamem, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Mahatwi, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Kabesan and Afaf, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Damata Afaf, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Meritat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Nasat, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Imdadad Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Nachakbatat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Sakatat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Anaktat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Dadad, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Tun, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Wahoo, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Yesas, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Anach, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Afnuit, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Satat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Sakatwi, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Emat, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Nana, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Emnuit, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Emsatatwi, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Mutal Tat, Yaye Nathar Tat, Yaye Rahashafaf, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Maratwi, Yaye Nathar, Yaye Amun Re'e, Yaye Nathar, Yehu, and Ata Kaled Jawef Paut, Ah Nun Re'e, Ah Tun Re'e, Ah Tun Re'e, Ah Mun Re'e. Yeah, Amun. 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 Jennifer. Okay. For those who are not familiar with our, prayer systems and rituals, again, like that last point, I was chanting Amun. That's the chanting. That's how you raise your vibration. Like as I was doing it, I can feel it. Actually, even my the what they call the brow, this your brow aroshat. You was feeling the vibration here through my hands, all throughout my body. You feel it as you do it more and more, day in, day out, day in. You'll start feeling it. This flow moving through your whole body. This is the process. These are the things that you do to help develop yourself spiritually, and your awareness will begin to increase, and your senses will begin to increase. It's a whole process. Now, of course, meditation, like after you finish chanting, you're supposed to go into a meditative state. So you're like doing the prayers, right? You're saying the prayers, you're moving. So your body is being conditioned now for that flow. It's getting your mind, it's getting yourself in that state. And then once you end the prayer and then you go into the chanting, now you're really revving yourself up. Your spirit energy, you're really connecting yourself. And then after that, you go into meditative state, just complete quietness, complete blackness. And that's how you tap into that soul force. And you allow that energy to flow into you. You're trying to harness what we call sachem into the body. These are the process. This is, the rituals for spiritual development. So with that all being said, I hope, like anything else, I hope this helps, and I can't stress it enough, study these discussions. And until then, next week, right, we're going to do this again. I'll be here. I'll be here. And I hope you guys be here. Invite family and friends, spread the word. I'm always telling you guys, spread the word. Each one teach one. Our goal is to spread the good news. Everyone needs the good news. Everyone needs the good news. And so we have to spread it. We can't stress that enough. We have to spread the good news. But till then, Wadu Muisar, be safe on your journeys. Be safe. Protect yourself, right? It's dangerous out there. Protect yourself. And most blessings. Tefnut, Ray, question: is it okay to use the I'm chart while meditating? I don't know what that chart is. Maybe if you can educate me on that. I don't know what that chart is. I'm chant. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm misreading you. It says I'm chant. I don't know what that chant is. I'm sorry. I don't know what that chant. Like I have the Om chant on. This is a chant, to do. But you can do chants. It's good to do chants when you're meditating, right? And that gets you in. But remember, the ultimate goal of meditation is to go into blackness, complete quietness, guys. Remember that. The ultimate goal of meditation is to go into blackness, to clear your mind of all thoughts. Clear your mind of all thoughts. This is how you connect to your higher mind. because our goal, remember, our goal is to connect to our oversoul, our higher consciousness. But you can't connect because of the chatter of your conscious mind. So you got to shut the chatter of your conscious mind. It's like when you go to sleep, your conscious mind shuts down. Meditation is what we call conscious sleep. It's basically you're putting your body in a sleep state, but your mind is still aware. And you once you're going to get into that complete state, then you can connect to your oversoul, your higher mind. You'll get thoughts. It'll start downloading thoughts into your mind, guys. Trust me, this is real. It's happened to me. I've done it many, many times, and you can do it too. We just have to develop it to a high level. I'm yet to do that, but we have that power. So keep up with the rituals. Don't stop.